Alright guys, today I'm gonna be watching most shocking horror movie Unmaskings. Starting in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Babyface. The Happy Death Day franchise turned the idea of waking up on the same day into a truly comic and existential nightmare. But while the first movie focused on Tree, trapped in an infinite loop of murders, the sequel decided to completely mess with what we thought we knew about time, and about who was behind the mask. This time the focus shifts to Ryan Phan, Carter Davies' nerdy, talkative roommate. He starts the day like any other, wakes up, walks around school, meets his friends at the lab, and is murdered by someone wearing the baby mask, the university's macabre mascot. But the strangest part is what comes next. Ryan wakes up again, at the exact same point, just like Tree in the first movie. The loop is his now, and the masked killer keeps coming after him, step by step, faster and faster. When they finally manage to corner the killer, Tree and Ryan take them down together. Tree shaking, steps closer. She removes the mask. Under the disguise is Ryan, another Ryan, but the
My god. So it's like an infinite time loop?
There is an alternate version of Ryan from another universe, trying to fix the mistakes of the timeline. The Fisherman. If the 70s and 80s created the most iconic masked killers in horror, the 90s tried to reinvent the genre, mixing youth, guilt, and revenge. Bloody revival, Ben Willis was born.
I love Leatherface. Let me mind you guys, my name is Foxy. I got a hook for a hand, which is crazy. I got a hook for a hand. I'm a pirate, a literal pirate. Also, I love every type of horror movie, and I starred in FNAF 1 and FNAF 2. This seems like a ripoff, so let's see this.
Vengeful Fisherman from I Know What You Did Last Summer, a villain who, even without the same status as Jason Voorhees, left a mark on an entire generation of teenagers who swore they'd never drive at night after a party again. It all starts with 4 friends, Julie, Helen, Ray, and Barry, coming back from a celebration. Suddenly the car hits a man. Of collective desperation, they make the worst decision possible. They hide the body. They promise to forget it, move on with their lives, and never speak about that night again. But secrets like that don't stay buried for long.
I've seen, not a really horror movie, but it's like a horror comedy. The name of it is, Scary Movie. And there's a flashback to when that happens. It's a really funny movie. You should go watch it. But it has like one part that has that exact theme. I think Scary Movie copied it because this is an older movie. But let's get back to the video.
With no return address, no signature, just a single sentence written inside. It's the beginning of a nightmare. Someone knows the truth and starts hunting them down one by one. The killer wears a soaked fisherman's coat and has a sharp hook instead of a hand. No words, no sound, just the noise of metal cutting through the air.
Hold up. He has a hook like me. Yeah, he's a copycat.
During the climax, when Julie is captured and taken onto a boat surrounded by fog, the truth finally comes out. Ben Willis, the man they hit, and who in fact wasn't dead. The reveal is brutal, not because it shows a deformed monster, but because it shows an ordinary man with an empty stare marked by trauma and rage. Ben was a father destroyed by the loss of his daughter, and the accident that night was the trigger for something much bigger. He had just killed his daughter's boyfriend, and shortly after was hit by the teen's car. In other words, they buried alive a murderer who was already running from another crime, and now he wanted revenge. When Ben's face appears for the first time without the hood, the audience understands what the horror of I Know What You Did Last Summer really represents. It isn't supernatural, it's a man driven by guilt, grief, and a twisted sense of justice. And even after falling into the sea, supposedly dead, his shadow keeps coming back. Because, as the title itself suggests, guilt never disappears. It just waits for the next summer. Michael Myers. Few killers in cinema carry a presence as silent and impenetrable.
I love Michael Myers, but I don't like the 2018 one, and I definitely don't like any of the newer ones. I like the first 3, and then that's all. I mean, I kind of fell off all the other ones, but
As Michael Myers. He is evil itself, faceless, voiceless, emotionless. At least that's what we believed, until Halloween 5. Since the massacre in Haddonfield, Michael became the portrait of total inhumanity. With each new attack, he seemed more like a supernatural force than a man. But in one of the most unexpected scenes in the entire franchise, the myth falters for a brief second, and the monster lets slip something that should not exist inside him. emotion. During the climax, Jamie Lloyd, Michael's young niece, is cornered. Desperate, she tries to reach whatever humanity might still exist in her uncle. As he raises the knife, ready to strike, Jamie says,
Uncle?
For a moment, he hesitates, and then Michael does the unthinkable. He removes the mask. The face that appears isn't that of a deformed demon. It's human. It's as if for a few seconds, absolute evil remembers that it was once human, but the moment vanishes as quickly as it came. Jamie reaches out her hand, and Michael, almost as if ashamed of showing weakness, forcefully puts the mask back on. And then he attacks again. The Secret. The 2009 film Sorority Row begins with a prank between sorority sisters that goes terribly wrong. During a poorly planned hazing prank, one of the girls ends up dead by accident. Panicked, the group decides to hide the body in an abandoned mine shaft, swearing never to speak of it again. Yeah, I think I've seen this before, right? Time passes, and 8 months later, they all try to move on with their lives. But then, mysterious messages start arriving, and soon a new masked killer appears on campus, wielding an improvised weapon made of blades, turning the sorority into a hunting ground. The movie follows the classic pattern of mystery and punishment, where everyone involved pays the price for a dirty secret. But the most striking moment comes at the end when...
Is this like Saw? This awfully sounds like Saw.
the mask finally comes off. The killer is revealed to be Andy Richards, the sweet, protective, and seemingly trustworthy boyfriend of Cassidy, and one of the few genuinely empathetic characters in the story. Throughout the entire film, Andy is presented as the balance in the middle of chaos, calm, rational, and the only figure who seems to truly care about her. That's why the shock hits so hard. His motive? In Andy's twisted mind, he needed to eliminate all the girls who knew the secret so that he and Cassidy could have a future together, free from guilt. It's completely insane logic, but wrapped in an almost romantic coldness, the kind of obsession that turns love into justification for murder. Smiley.
It's scary to walk alone at night, but fortunately, my friend recommended me the...
Not every horror movie with a memorable unmasking needs to be good. Some just need to be disturbing, and Smiley is exactly that. The story follows Ashley, a college student who gets...
I've never seen this movie. Maybe I'll watch it later tonight.
Involved in a series of viral videos and online chat rooms. There, a modern urban legend circulates. If someone types, "I did it for the lulz" 3 times during a conversation, a masked killer named Smiley appears behind them and kills them instantly. When the murders start happening for real, Ashley is consumed by paranoia. Classmates, friends, and even her love interest all seem involved somehow. And the more she tries to understand what's going on, the more the line between reality and the virtual world begins to disappear. But the real shock comes in the final act. Ashley is surrounded by multiple Smileys, all with the same stitched face, the same grotesque smile made of scars and strands of skin. She screams, tries to escape, and ends up...
Is this like a Strangers thing? If you didn't know, there's a movie called Strangers where there's 3 masked killers that hunt down family. This 2-people couple, they moved, I'm not gonna spoil it for you guys, but they went to a house and then masked killers started showing up, and I'm not gonna spoil anymore, but you get it, right?
jumping out a window. A death as desperate as it is inevitable. But then comes the twist. The masked killers weren't supernatural entities nor a single serial killer. They were people from Ashley's own social circle. Friends, classmates, even the guy she fell in love with. They were all part of a group that identified itself as Anonymous, and the plan was cruelly simple. Create mass hysteria, turn Smiley into a real phenomenon, and make other young people replicate the crimes at other universities. They literally did it for fun, for the lulz. The idea was to cause chaos, not out of revenge, but for the internet's pleasure of watching everything burn. And for a moment, the plan seems to work. But then, the movie delivers its final twist. Ashley survived the fall, and in the last frames, we see a new Smiley emerging from the darkness, a face no one recognizes. Is it the real Smiley or just another prank? The movie doesn't answer. Leatherface. While many killers hide their faces out of vanity or mystery, Leatherface does it out of pure monstrosity, because what's underneath should never be seen. In the 1974 classic, we never truly see the real face of the butcher who terrorizes the lost youths in rural Texas. But the 2003 remake decided to go further, and showed, even if briefly, what the human skin mask was really hiding. In the most disturbing moment, we see Leatherface removing the old mask, covered in dried blood and filth, to stitch a new one. The camera slowly moves in, and for a brief instant, his real face is revealed, deformed, disfigured, with sunken eyes. It's a quick moment, but devastating. Here, Thomas Hewitt doesn't wear the mask to scare. He wears it to exist. Each stitched face is a desperate attempt to be someone else, anyone else, except himself. The psychopath. Almost every horror movie with a masked killer follows the same logic. The villain uses the disguise to hide something, a deformity, an identity, or simply to become more terrifying. But Hush completely changed that idea. Here, the protagonist Maddie Young lives alone, isolated from the world, trying to find peace so she can write. But the detail that changes everything is that she is deaf. And here, silence becomes an absolute nightmare when a masked man appears outside her house. His mask looks like it's made of plaster, cold, expressionless. A white, empty face, almost handmade, reflecting the killer's total lack of empathy. As Maddie fights to survive, the man starts to toy with her, knocking on windows, appearing in reflections, acting like a predator who knows his prey can't escape. With nowhere to run, overwhelmed by desperation, Maddie tries the only thing she has left. She writes on the glass.
If I was in that situation and I had no contact to the outside world, I'd just strip down. Well, since I'm an animatronic, I can't strip down. But I just lay there and accept my fate, because I know I can't do anything unless I got a shotgun. Then it'd be like Fortnite, 200 to the head. Pow! Also, I could run like 120 miles per hour. I'm as fast as... What's that guy's name again? Usain Bolt. There we go. Yeah, I'm faster than him. Watch this. I just ran across the entire world.
But his response is the opposite of what anyone would expect. The man slowly removes the mask, revealing a completely ordinary face. No scars, no deformities, nothing hidden, just a psychopath. The scene is disturbing precisely because of that. He didn't need the mask to terrify anyone. When Maddie stares at him, the audience feels the same discomfort. The lack of expression, the slight smile, the sheer normality of it all is more frightening than any grotesque makeup. From that point on, the game changes. Without the mask, he becomes even more unpredictable. Without it, the killer believes he has total control. It's in that mistake that Maddie finds her chance. Pumpkin Boy. At first glance, Trick or Treat seems like a cute and even harmless movie.
I love Trick or Treat. It's one of my favorite horror movies. Been watching it for a while. It's so good. I watch it every year on Halloween Eve.
A colorful tribute to Halloween, full of glowing jack-o'-lanterns and kids in costumes running through the streets. But among all those interconnected stories, one figure stands out, a small creature with a burlap sack head, orange pajamas, and an unblinking stare, carrying a little bag of candy. This is Sam, the guardian of Halloween's rules. For most of the film, Sam is shown as a mysterious, silent, ever-present child. He appears in corners, in shadows, quietly watching those who disrespect the traditions of the holiday. And when someone breaks the rules, blows out a jack-o'-lantern, steals candy, or simply mocks the holiday, Sam appears.
Another thing I love about these movies is that they have amazing jump scares. Amazing jump scares.
But the moment he reveals what
And really good gore.
truly is happens when fate places Mr. Krieg in his path, a cruel, grumpy old man who refuses to follow the traditions. During the fight between them, the old man rips off Sam's mask, but what he pulls isn't fabric, it's skin. Under the burlap sack, Sam's face is revealed, a deformed skull shaped like a pumpkin. What seemed innocent turns into something ancient and relentless. Even after being hurt, Sam shows no pain or anger, only discipline. He came to collect what is owed, respect for Halloween, but in a curious twist, he spares Krieg in the end, accepting a chocolate bar as a symbolic offering. Because after all, the rule is simple. Respect Halloween. Jill Roberts. 15 years after the original massacre, the town of Woodsboro once again becomes the stage for a new bloody game in Scream 4. But this time, the horror doesn't come from the outside. It's inside Sydney's own family. Jill Roberts, Sydney's cousin, is introduced as a modern version of the final girl. Shy, smart, and apparently traumatized by her family's past. For most of the movie, she's portrayed as the new heroine, the girl who survives, who could be the new Sydney Prescott. But in the end comes the big reveal. Ghostface removes the mask, and it's Jill. The reveal hits the audience like a punch. purge. The victim was actually the mind behind everything, and not for revenge, but for fame. Jill didn't just want to survive it, she wanted the attention, the glamour, the interviews, the status of being the new Sidney Prescott. To do that, she planned every detail of the killings, manipulating her boyfriend Charlie and eliminating anyone who might steal the spotlight. The most disturbing moment comes right after the reveal, when Jill, alone, stages her own fight for survival. She cuts herself, scratches herself, breaks glass, and throws herself against walls, all to create the perfect scene of the sole survivor of the massacre. Her unmasked face, covered in blood but wearing a slight, satisfied smile, shows just how far she went for a bit of notoriety. And the cruelest part is that, for a few minutes, she wins. The police, the media, everyone believes Jill is the heroine. But Sydney's legacy doesn't die that easily, and when she wakes up in the hospital, the game turns once again. Jill tries to finish the job, but Sydney fights back with the experience of someone who has faced death before. And with one last electric shock, she puts an end to the new generation before it even begins. The Leader. In the first film of The Purge, released in 2013, James
I don't have anything bad to say about Scream 4. It's just not that good compared to Scream 1 and Scream 2.
Monaco presents one of the most disturbing ideas in modern horror, a seemingly perfect America where all crime is illegal, except for one night a year. For 12 hours, murder, robbery, and extreme violence are completely legal. And it's on that night that we meet the polite leader, the most terrifying face of the idea behind The Purge. As we follow James Sandin and his family preparing to lock themselves inside their home.
I've never watched this movie because I have to pay for it, but maybe I'll watch the movie and pay for it to review it on my channel.
Believing they can simply ignore the chaos outside, reality crashes in brutally. A wounded man appears asking for help, and against all common sense, he's taken in. Not long after, a group of masked young people appears in front of the house. They speak with exaggerated politeness. When the leader removes his mask, the shock doesn't come from a deformed or monstrous face. It comes from the exact opposite. Behind the mask is an ordinary young man, handsome, well-dressed, with a confident smile and an empty stare.
We are some fine, young, very educated guys and gals.
He introduces himself politely and calmly makes the proposal clear. Either the family hands over the wounded man, or everyone inside becomes part of that night's hunt. And in that moment, the Sandin family understands too late that the Purge isn't just a night without laws. It's the beginning of a nightmare. Jason Voorhees. The 7th chapter of the Friday the 13th franchise delivered one of the most grotesque and striking looks of Jason Voorhees. In this film, Jason doesn't just face reckless teenagers. For the first time, he meets a worthy opponent. Tina Shepard, a young woman with telekinetic powers. Their confrontation goes beyond the physical. It's literally a battle of minds, blood, and accumulated hatred. As Tina uses her powers to push, crush, and burn Jason, the legendary mask begins to crack under the telekinetic pressure. That plastic shell that always hid the impossible splits, and with a snap, the lower part breaks loose, revealing what's underneath. What emerges is not a human face, it's a mass of rotting flesh with a deformed jaw, exposed teeth, and pieces of bone showing, as if time and death had carved a zombie. Fake Jason. 3 years earlier, A New Beginning had left audiences completely confused and angry with one of the most unexpected reveals in the entire saga. After Jason is brutally killed by Tommy Jarvis in the final chapter, the 5th film begins with new murders in Crystal Lake. But something feels off. The behavior of the new Jason isn't the same. The attacks feel different, and most importantly, there's something wrong with the face behind the mask. During the climax, the killer is pushed out of a barn and falls onto a tractor, getting impaled on impact. The mask slips off his face, and everyone is left in shock. The face revealed is not Jason Voorhees. It's not the deformed zombie, nor the drowned boy of Crystal Lake. It's just an ordinary man, the paramedic Roy Burns, briefly introduced at the beginning of the film, who had been collecting the body of his murdered son in an earlier scene. Driven by grief and madness, Roy decided to take on Jason's...
Alright guys, that was the end of my video. Hope you liked it. Maybe a like and a subscribe. I don't have much good stuff to film with. I always film it on my phone because I don't have a computer. But this has been a Minecraft guy, and I am out. Let me press it.